morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast.
Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. Canadian.
I don't know what's going on this morning. We're live.
Oh, okay. We're
Don't know
live.
what's going on this morning. There's all kinds of weird stuff happening here.
Yeah,
It just
there was
stopped. on its
something
own.
missing, right? Yes, okay.
Yeah.
So
No,
it wasn't
it
just
was-
me.
The intro was almost finished, and then it just, I don't know what's going on.
Ah, damn.
It must be because it's U.S. Election Day.
On the starting line and tripped over the first hurdle. Again. All right. Well, good morning and hello, kids. And welcome to season 4 and episode number 506 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We're still new here on the Crier Media Network.
Crier.
Do,
Media.
do, 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 do. In honor of our cousins, we have to. It's a big
Yeah.
day.
I almost thought, was that God Save the King? No.
It was either going to be that one or
Here comes the chief they are hailing. There's no lyrics, right? It was,
Can I get a ride?
I forget what movie it was, but it was Jack Lemmon and James, Rockford Files.
Gardner.
James Garner, thank you. I wanted to say Arness, but I knew that was wrong. And they were ex-presidents along with somebody else. And when the song "Hail to the Chief" would play, one of them would sing along. Here comes the chief, it's the chief they are hailing. Hail to the chief, it's the chief they are hailing. He goes, are those the ones you made up? He's like, yeah. They all made up their own words to a song that doesn't have any words. So.
Oh my God. I guess it's just, my mind is really weird when you say that. Like I'm sitting there like this, like thinking of New York City trying to hail a chief. How did you get here so fast? I took a chief. All right.
Chief Airlines.
Chief Airlines.
I think that was an airline once. Seriously.
Chief Airlines? I don't know. I have to look that up. All right.
Guess what the logo was?
Yes. Yeah, probably. All right. So yes, the date is Tuesday, November 5th, Election Day in the United States of America, also known as the meth lab above which we live.
That was Robin Williams, right?
Was that? I'm not
Yeah.
sure who. I'm not sure who originated that one.
I thought it was
actually.
Robin Williams quite a number of years ago.
It is very, very, very much quite possible. I am
living in Canada is like living above a meth lab.
Yes, because all I can think of right now is this, Mr. Grizzly. If we're talking about current mood. So it's like, just thinking of that beaver there. My word. So,
yeah.
But oddly enough, I am rather serene but
Mhm.
we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Nauseously optimistic.
Nauseously optimistic. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvidman Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. Kits and Cubs. Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today?
I think it's actually pretty good. Um, had a so physically, I'm not in good shape today.
Okay.
Well, no, it's I helped somebody out with something yesterday, and it was construction related type work. I can barely walk today. It's why I cannot do that work anymore. And what I did wasn't even that intense. It was
Mm.
nothing like what I used to do. I can barely walk today. Getting out of bed was a challenge. It took me a few minutes before I could stand upright, and yeah, it's I can't do that kind of work anymore. It's just too destructive to me.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, I feel that. I feel that. All right. For me, as I'm before we get on to the other stuff, however, we do have one very, very important piece of business to tend to, and there was a by-election last night in Toronto,
Right.
Ward 15, and it's very important, not only because it's Toronto, it's the biggest city, but because we had a kit doing democracy who was running
Hmm.
this race. Now, unfortunately, if you've seen the results, uh, our friend Kit Dan did not win this race. But as we always say, it's about putting your body in the game. It's about running for something. It's about making the effort.
Well, and
So,
I can guarantee you this is not the last time Dan will do that. Correct, Dan? Why?
oh,
Why do I have reason to believe that you'll be back with a vengeance in just a couple of years? And between now and then, we'll start to build
oh yes,
a door-to-door grassroots campaign to really get people out there.
yeah. It's tough when you don't have a team and you don't have a campaign manager that can
Manipulate the media, amongst other things.
well, but book those interviews for you and make sure, so, present you, you wake up and you have a schedule for a day. You need to be here, to be there and be here. And not all you have to do is show up, but when you're not making the cold calls to get
Right.
the publicity down. So doing a campaign on your own, it is tough. So, but said you ran for something, you had a strategy, you had a plan, you had a budget, you worked within your budget, you
Hmm.
executed your plan, you executed your strategy. Didn't get the result that you wanted, but all those things are very, very positive. There are things that you can learn from for the next time, because I too have a feeling that you are going to run again, my friend. And hopefully, if you keep running, somewhere along the way when you're running, you will meet people who believe in you as much as we do. And you'll pick up a campaign manager along the way or something.
Mm.
So, but yeah, you need to make those connections, my friend. And when you do, you'll really be off to the races. But you did it, and most people don't.
And that's the
That's
thing.
something to be very proud of, and we are proud of you.
You put your body in there.
Yep.
You put yourself in the line of fire. Because
Yep.
let's face it, it is a line of fire, and people will do anything to cut you down.
Mm-hmm.
Opponents will hire people to find dirt and dig it up. And although here's the best part, Dan's like, dirt? Oh no, here's all the dirt on me. Here's my dirt.
Mm.
You can't dig it up on me. I'm going to present it to you. Which I think is a great strategy, because then there's never anything that you can get embarrassed about and have to apologize for later or step down as a result. You just say, no, here's all my dirt. Here it is.
Mm-hmm. Kid Dan says, Eglinton Lawrence is all I'm going to say. Stay tuned.
So something is in the...
Then tuned I shall remain.
Well, Dan, after this show, I'll reach out to you and we'll see if we can schedule a recording session today, because I'm working from home today because I can't leave the office today. I'm in too much pain.
Yep, yep. So Dan, my friend, giving you a really, 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 really big hug, and I'm very proud of you. Well done.
Indeed,
Take
sir.
your skeletons out of the closet and dance with them, says Kid Saucy.
I think that's a brilliant way to say it. Hell yeah.
Rattle them bones, rattle them bones.
Well, I
Okay.
think more and more people in this country can accept the fact that nobody's perfect, and trying to present yourself as perfect is
Yeah.
a lie in and of itself.
That
So if
that
you
that era
just
in politics is done.
it's done, and thankful. So if you just come out and say, "Yeah, this is what I did," I've learned from it. I'm a better person because of it, and here's how I've moved forward and moved on, and this is what I've done to make amends or correct my pattern or whatever the case may be. Be an honest, authentic human being, and you will definitely get both Gen X, the millennials, and Gen Z. I can't say as much for the boomers. I don't know. Some of them are like, "Ooh," but many others, and I've noticed, my parents included, be the type that go, "Well, we all made mistakes, and we've all moved on." So, yeah, I think it's the way moving forward is you just present yourself exactly who you are. Don't lie about it, and people will respect you for your honesty. Maybe you don't get elected, but at least you have your integrity and your principles intact, and that is more important than any victory.
Yep, I absolutely concur. And there's when we had, morning and evening edition newspapers and, you know, something happened and you had 12 hours, between the evening edition and the morning edition, you had 12 hours to wait. This without anything pumping into your brain 24/7 to figure out what had developed next, unless you were listening to the radio and you were listening to the hourly update, right? Life was way, 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 way different than oh Lola, she's so adorable. Life was so different then, and but with this fast turnaround in the news as it is now, it's like it's as Mr. Grizzly says, it's it just changes so damn fast. And there's not much time for stuff to percolate and rest and for you to think about things for a bit. We're on to the next scandal. We're on to the next thing. So everything's moving a little fast. All right. For it's election day in the United States, and well, of course, as we always say up here, their elections are just too damn long. And it would be nice if today would be the day, like as I said before, that we put the wooden stake into this energy vampire, roll it in garlic, and waterboard it in holy water. God.
Indeed.
And then leave it out, fly it to Yellowknife, and then leave it out in the summer sun for the equinox sun for a full 24 hours or a month just to make sure. Because, oh my God, this thing, it's, Kamala Harris had it right the other day when she was in front of the podium and she was just talking about it's exhausting. Let's
Mhm.
just turn the page on this thing. And please, let's just turn the page on this thing in such a way. Because it would be nice to not only turn the page on him, but this whole Trumpism BS. So it would be a nice landslide if it was a landslide. Of course, all the polls, those who follow polls, are saying that everything is neck and neck and all that kind of stuff. There has been some brouhaha because there's one poll specifically in Iowa called the Seltzer poll. And everybody goes gaga over the Seltzer poll because Ann Seltzer, who runs that Seltzer and Company, apparently has near mythical status because her polling is just so damn accurate. It's almost like a Janet Brown thing in Alberta,
Mhm.
specifically, right? But she's so good. And everybody looks to the Des Moines Register poll as close to the election date, the final one, to try to get a sense of that all the time. So that one came out. And while everything has been showing neck and neck, and while this is still within the margin of error, this one showed Harris 47, Trump 44
Mhm.
in Iowa. not one of the 7 swing states.
Yeah, it's curious to see what's going to happen.
That has got a lot of tongues wagging. A lot of tongues wagging, because if that pollster is as good as she is, and that poll is as accurate as everyone thinks it is, except for who thinks it is. Trust me, he thinks it's accurate too, because he wouldn't be panicking the way that he is. This guy is not finishing this race like he thinks he's winning.
Well, you know my take on polls, and I'm not going to rehash
Yeah,
it.
I know that.
But I am going to show you something here from Peter Cliff, which I think is interesting. I believe that many people will simply not respond to requests for participation in polling. Today, bespoke polling being presented in biased media tells us that Anthony Fury is way out in front. Then he is soundly defeated in the election. Polls are unbelievable. That's I don't like polls, you know that. I'm not going to get into it. I'm ad nauseum. I can go on forever. I'm not going to do that. But what is it? The betting site where apparently they're in hot water now because they were encouraging influencers in the United States to bet on this site, and that's illegal.
Yep.
That's against the law in the U.S. So somebody might be getting into a lot of hot water about that, or they'll just sweep it under the rug. Who the hell knows? If enough people make enough money, if enough wealthy people make money, they'll sweep it under the rug.
Indeed. So yeah, that one poll has got everybody's tongues wagging. Because there's in the polling, for people who follow this and whatnot, what's been happening in the recent past with people having fewer and fewer landlines and fewer people actually answering their phones when people call and whatnot. They've had to use other methods. It's not necessarily as precise as it was before, that type of thing. But you layer onto that, because a character like Trump, which is completely unconventional, which flips the whole political game on its ear, gets out a whole bunch of voters, motivates a group of voters that weren't necessarily showing up to vote before. This because polling is all likely voters, right? Well, these are unlikely voters or atypical voters. So then they adjust the model and then they try to capture it, and then they have to go out and test it. But the game just keeps on changing so damn quickly. And in this election, you have a whole bunch of other groups. There might be on Trump's side, a whole bunch of other people that have not been identified or that are going to come. And, because he didn't get everybody the first time, there's still more of them. And, that are going to come out this time. They're even more motivated now. But on the other side, how many women in all those red states, because we've all seen the commercials, right? Are going to go into that voting booth and vote for Kamala Harris and go back to the party or the event or whatever is going on, or go back to their making dinner and never let a hint of it come out. But that's what they did.
From what I understand about this comment from PNC Bio is that it's against the law to promote election gambling. That's what I understand. So gambling, you can promote gambling. That's not a problem. But gambling on the election, I understand, is countries outside of the United States of America can do it, no problem. But Americans living and residing in America cannot promote gambling on the election. That is the law that I understood. Now, maybe I understand that incorrectly. I don't know. It's possible, but that's how I understood it. Again, I'm not a lawyer and I'm not American, so I don't necessarily get the gist of that. But that is how I understood it, that promoting gambling on the election in the United States of America as an American citizen is illegal. Now, I could be wrong about that, but gambling in and of itself is legal to promote.
Okay. Oh, that's good. That is definitely good to know. So you have that, and then we all saw the other commercial, the other version of it, where it's like three guys go into the voting booth, and the guy's got a picture of his family on his phone, and the other guy's daughter's there. Like, hey, daddy, like this, and it's like, yeah, we're voting for Kamala too. So they're going after the women, they're going after the men. So, but we don't know how many of these voters, men and women, in these red states will be quietly voting, either because of peer pressure or family pressure, pressure from their husbands or that kind of stuff, just quietly voting. We don't know how many young people are going to come out because they are the classic atypical voter, an unreliable voter. But if a lot of them are motivated, and there's certain data that's coming in there that's showing that among the youth vote, there's a group out there that was doing a study. There's certain states, certain of the swing states, where the youth vote seems to be up. There's some states greater than 200% than what they expect so far in the early voting. So those are all people that did not get picked up in the polls. Right. So we don't know. We literally do not know. And any pollster that's out there that's saying that that's going to tell you they're not. And there could be a thing where all pollsters are just saying it's 50-50 because they just, like the Washington Post, they don't want to take position. It's like, again, you're a pollster. It's what you do. Right. But it could be just that, it's so close, you don't want to destroy your reputation. So you say, okay, it might be here by 1%, that type of thing. I have been remarkably serene this whole election campaign, which is kind of weird because it's like literally the whole planet is in the balance. And given that we live right upstairs, we're like super screwed. And let's be serious here. Yes, we're a member of NATO, but we're the only other one on this side of the pond.
Correct.
And if the United States goes rogue, it's like, even if Article 5 is invoked, how many are going to be really willing to come over here?
Well, I know Poland would go in a heartbeat because they're ready to go right now. They're itching. Their trigger fingers are itchy right now.
They're willing to go into Russia.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Yes, but I mean, are they willing to come here if the United States decides that they're going crazy and they're going to turn on us?
No, that won't happen.
Right?
That won't happen, and I'll tell you why. Look, here's something I got to set the record straight on this for those of you who don't know. Many people are a little worried because they're like, oh, geez, if Trump gets in, he's going to do this, that, and everything because he's a king. Yes, he thinks he can do all those things, and technically, legally, now he can. But here's the thing. You have generals that run the military in the United States of America that are highly educated individuals who care about the balance of power in this world. They actually do care about freedom in other nations. I guarantee you, if Trump said invade Canada, they'd be like, nope, not happening. There would be a coup, and it would happen very quickly because the generals swore an oath to the Constitution of the United States of America, not to the flag, not to the president, the Constitution, to defend it by all enemies, foreign and domestic. So I guarantee you, if he launched an order like that, we're going to invade Canada and we're pulling out of NATO, they'd be like, nah, that's not happening. It's not happening. They would take over the president and they would install somebody that would be safe. And it wouldn't be Vance unless they were able to pull his strings.
I wish I had that confidence. That confidence I don't have.
But I guarantee you, the balance of power, no matter who is in charge, you do not have to worry about being invaded because the military will just go, no, this is not going to happen. Because all of the generals hate this man. They physically hate him because they know who he is. He's a dictator. He's a fascist. He's a sexist, misogynist, racist piece of human fecal matter. And they will not kowtow to him.
Civilly educated rapist.
The Constitution, not him. And Trump demands loyalty. Well, you're not getting it from the generals. They are loyal to the Constitution and the republic for which it stands, not you. So trust me. Yeah, he's going to fire those not loyal to him, except the military just won't go. They're going to do their own damn thing. I can guarantee you. I've spoken to somebody who was in a position of knowledge who says, don't worry, I'll set your mind at ease. And he told me a few things I cannot repeat here, only because I actually do have the clearance to hear them, unlike the leader of the loyal opposition. So, yeah, trust me. You needn't panic too much. Yes, understandable. The military can't do everything. Would there be a coup right away? No. At some point, I think if he went off the rails and decided we're going to invade Canada and we're going to do this and we're going to do, they'd be, nope, that's not happening. Now, his plan to deport 1 million people from Florida, which will decimate Florida's economy, because almost 90% of those people are in the service industry. So Florida is a big tourism state. And if you suddenly take 1 million people out who take care of the service industry, along with, your lawns and pools and the streets of the cities that you live in and the highway workers and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you take 1 million people out of the workforce, watch the economy crumble.
So yeah, voting has already started because there's one little place in New Hampshire, if I'm not mistaken, that votes at midnight. It's a little town near the Canadian border that has now only 6 residents. Had a little more not too long ago. And unfortunately, they were extremely unhelpful in giving us a little idea, because it's called Dixville Notch in New Hampshire. And the 6 residents that showed up at midnight to vote, the votes were cast, and 3 votes went for Harris and 3 votes went for Trump. Thanks
Great.
for nothing, Dixville Notch. So now,
Dixon's
oddly,
Notch.
this is really interesting. Yes. So this is very weird, interesting, because in the previous election, all 6 voted for Biden. And then in the election previous, 2 voted for Trump. No, sorry, 4 voted for Trump and 2 voted for Hillary. So it seems that of the 6 residents of Dixville Notch over the past 3 elections, there are 2 who do not want to vote for a woman, come what may.
Well, yeah, it seems
under any
that way.
circumstance.
And obviously, they're not necessarily beholden to a party, it would seem.
No, but here's the other thing. There are 2 that could not vote for Kamala and could not vote for Hillary, assuming they are the same people, but they did vote for Biden. It's like the whole concept that Trump is better than any woman.
Yeah, that's really scary. I have an old pair of hockey socks and my goalie skates that I think are better than Trump.
Yeah, no.
And I haven't put those skates on in 6 years, okay?
Oh, man. Oh, man.
It might be time to throw the skates out.
Yes. Kid Frankie says, Paul, you should be wearing the white hat on sites by now.
The white hat?
The white hat.
My cowboy hat?
The white cowboy hat?
I can go get it if you like.
Oh, man. White is in between quotes here, so it might be symbolic here on that one.
Oh, you mean like white hat, like a Linux sort of white hat hacker sort of thing? Is that what you mean? I don't know.
Ah, could be. Yes. Might be that as well. Oh, my word. Okay. So, yeah, all of that is going on. People are voting. I think there have been over, or if not over 80 million, close to 80 million early votes cast. There was over 200 million votes cast in the previous election. So
that's got to be a large a portion of the voting population.
Yeah. So, I mean, 80, if you say 80 million early votes, and let's say 200 million come and vote again, I mean, that's almost half the votes that were early votes. Now, there are certain states like Pennsylvania and I believe Wisconsin that don't allow any processing whatsoever of early votes until election day. So the counts in those two states might be a little long in any other states that are like that this evening. It could be a long result where everybody's expecting, and there is a possibility that it could be a short night, relatively speaking. In that, I was listening to something, and the way that they had described it is if you put all the typical red states as being red and the typical blue states as being blue. So, New York and California go to Democrats, Texas and Florida go to the Republicans, and you'll only look at the swing states. Then the Democrats would need, I believe, 44 of the Electoral College seats there, and the Republicans would need 51. Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, them three alone, make 44 for the Dems. So if you're watching those three states, if Pennsylvania is the big one for anyone, because the Republicans absolutely need it. The Democrats have a path without it, but it's way harder. You got to win way more of the other swing states like Nevada and Arizona in the Sun Belt. But if you look at those three states, and those three states seem to be going for the Democrats, and because Pennsylvania, like I mentioned, it's one of those states where you can't process the mail-in ballots, that might be one of those blue mirage states, red mirage states that are showing for the Republicans first until a lot of the mail-in vote starts to be counted. We also can't necessarily count on as great of a proportion of the mail-in vote this time to be pro-Democrat as it was last time, mainly because Trump and the Republicans didn't campaign among Republicans, telling them not to vote by mail because it was rigged. So there are probably more Republicans who did vote by mail this time around. But still, it's going to be interesting. And then, of course, on election day, a lot of people are going to be wondering whether or not there's going to be any type of intimidation at the polls and that type of stuff when it comes to interfering with people voting, just like when we saw, well, when I was away, but you showed us those vote drop boxes that caught fire. Now, fortunately, most of those votes were saved because there was some fire retardant within the box.
Yeah, they're supposed to be fireproof, but obviously they're not. But yeah.
Yeah. But now there's one of the boxes, I think, in Vancouver, Washington State or whatnot, where the fire retardant thing did not go off. So there might have been some votes there. But it seems they were able to advise. There was stuff that allowed them to identify things, and they were able to advise most people about it. And in the United States, they also have this thing, if you drop your vote in like that, you can actually track your vote to see if it's actually been counted. So hopefully there was a lot of people that dropped their vote and heard about that happening and then went to see if their vote was counted. And if not, then, had a chance to do it again because they were making those types of provisions. But all that to say that those three states, if they go for the Democrats, then and they show pretty early, then it could indeed be a short night. The other way for the for the Republicans, if it is, I believe, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina, that gives them the 54. Was it the 54? I said they need a 44, 51, the 51 or something that they specifically need. So those are the states to watch. Now, of course, if Iowa flips, Iowa's just 6 electoral votes, but then the Republicans would have to find those 6 somewhere else as well. And another state that you should be looking at tonight that will be interesting is North Carolina. There's a chance that that one could flip as well. Sorry, there's a little fly in front here. There's a chance that one could flip. And then the other race that I'm going to have my eyes on all night is in Texas, because people are wondering, what can surprise you? And Texas is one to watch. Not that I think it will flip, but if Ted Cruz loses,
which is
and
the
we
rumor.
get to this Allred guy, and I've seen him speak a couple of times. This Allred guy is pretty interesting. So if Ted Cruz loses, that greatly helps the odds that the Democrats will get to keep the Senate, because right now everybody seems to be pretty certain that the Democrats will lose their Senate seat in Montana, Senator John Tester. And people are also wondering about Sherrod Brown, I believe. I think he's from Washington State, but I'm not sure on that one. But yeah, for the House to flip back the House, the Democrats need to flip about 4 seats, I believe it is. Might be a little more for some reason. I don't know why. For some reason, I'm thinking 4 seats. I might be able to have that right though, because yeah, they're not leading by all that many, the Republicans. So yeah, it might be 4 seats. I might have that right. And for those ones, you really need to be looking at California and New York specifically. Those were the best shots for those 4 to flip would be, and specifically in California. People have their eye on the 41st congressional district specifically as one that could be pretty favorable to flipping, because the Republican candidate over there is having some major issues with ethics. They've received a lot of publicity. So that's what we'll be looking for over the course of the evening. And Mr. Grizzly, I do believe we will have some type of evening viewing party.
Yes. Have you heard back from our friends?
I've not heard back from our friends yet, but I will do a little harassing and arm twisting over the course of the day. I don't know
in the nicest, most polite Canadian way. You're really going to appear on us, eh? Sorry. One day Canada will take over the world. Then you'll all be sorry.
Don't make us ask you to meet us by the swings.
We'll send to Canada geese, eh?
You show up, right? Right? You'll be neighborly, right? So yeah, I do not know what time you want to start. Apparently, polls close as early as 6 p.m. in 2 states, Kentucky, and I don't know what the other one is. And then Georgia and a couple of others come in around 7. But I don't know if you want to start a little later, but there should be some results of some time starting to come in between 6 and 7. But I don't know if we want to go as early as 6, because it could be a long night. But if you have any idea around what time you want to start, do let us know, because I'm sure the kits that will want to join us
I'll get back to you.
want to make some plans. All right. Back to Ward 15 in Toronto, because we never actually told you what the result was. We got so excited about Dan's participation that we forgot to tell you who won. So a lady named, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly, Rachel Chernoslin, has won the race for Ward 15. According to the CBC, it says residents of Don Wally West have chosen Rachel Chernoslin as their next city councillor in a by-election held Monday. With 52 out of 52 polls reporting as of 9:45 p.m. on Monday, the Toronto District School Board Chair and former school trustee had 12,899 votes, or 54.76% of the vote. Wow, a clear majority, particularly with that number of candidates. That's rather impressive. While her nearest rival, former journalist Anthony Furey, had 7,343 votes for 31.17%. Anthony Furey got defeated by more than 23 points.
But he was leading the polls and was supposed to win. Mm-hmm.
Said Nelson Muntz, philosopher.
Yeah, I don't want to start before 8 p.m. this evening, by the way.
Okay.
There's no point to do it before 8 p.m. because there's really not enough information in, and, it's just, I think it's useless to start before 8.
All right. That works for me. So yeah, Anthony Fury, again, doesn't get a seat somewhere.
What a shame. Oh,
well,
what a shame.
Keep trying. 87th time's the charm. Maybe. I don't know how many times the guy's run. But he really, 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 really wants to be elected. Quote, "We could feel it going door to door," Chair Slynn told reporters at her election night party at the Lee's Side pub. Quote, "We could feel the positivity and the momentum. I had this feeling of calm for the last couple of weeks because I felt like things were really behind us and everybody was really supportive," she added. Quote, "I think people loved that I had been the local trustee. They understood I lived in the ward. They wanted someone with local knowledge who really had a stake in the community. But also, there was a very strong value placed on my experience and my work as a trustee and my proven track record." Chair Lynn said she wants to solve problems as a councillor. Quote, "I'm really focused on making a difference and taking a pragmatic, solutions-oriented approach to getting things done. That's the type of thing I did as a trustee." The by-election was called after Ward 15 councillor Jay Robinson died of cancer in May. Robinson was also the former TTC chair. Chair Lynn, who has taken a leave of absence from her job as TDSB chair, earned endorsements from a number of high-profile people, including former Ontario Liberal Premier Kathleen Wynne. In late October, 2 by-election candidates, Dhruv Jain and Evan Sambasivam, suspended, I think I mispronounced his name, sorry, Sambasavam, suspended their campaigns. I cannot speak today. Let's try that again. In late October, 2 by-election candidates, Dhruv Jain and Evan Sambhavisam, suspended their campaigns and endorsed her for councillor. As part of her campaign, Chair Lynn promised to work on improving TTC service, addressing community safety, and ensuring that residents get value for their tax dollars. Fury, who once wrote a column for the Toronto Sun, jumped in the race a little over a year after he surprised pundits by finishing fourth in last year's mayoral by-election with over 35,000 votes. According to the city, a total of 4,019 voters cast ballots in advanced voting, which was held on Saturday, October 26th and Sunday, October 27th. The city says 1,877 people voted on the Saturday, while 2,142 people voted on the Sunday. Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow joined the victory party, saying, "Chair Lynn cares about the people right here and wants to deliver results for people of Don Valley West." Chow added she wants to work collaboratively and not in a divisive way. In a post on X, formerly Twitter, Chow congratulated Chair Lynn after all polls had reported, quote, "I know we can work together to deliver more for the people of Don Valley West and all Torontonians," Chow said. Earlier on Monday, Chow urged voters in the ward to make time to cast ballots for a new city councillor. Quote, "Send a message that you want more housing built, send a message that TTC can provide better public transit, and let's feed more kids. Let's do that today, and this is your chance to elect someone that shares those values." Chow said City Council will welcome the person elected on Monday night to represent Don Valley West. Quote, "Whoever wins today, the good people of Don Valley will make the right decision," she said. Voters in the ward said they would like to see the new city councillor deal with such issues as traffic congestion, bike lanes, high rent, affordable housing, and support services for newcomers and youth. Norman Light, a voter, said there are many issues in the ward, but property taxes are on the mind of voters because it's not clear if there will be an increase this year and how much it will be. Quote, "Housing is a big issue for many people, particularly of my children's generation," Light said. "Affordability is key. There's lots of things that the city wants to do, but we can't afford them all." Dave Mims, another voter, said, quote, "Overspending and bike lanes everywhere among the top issues for voters." Quote, "The city is getting to be unlivable now," he said. "We need to get control of spending and start doing things that people need rather than things that certain elements of the political spectrum want." Salman Akbar, another voter, said it's important for the candidate who is elected to make themselves available to constituents after assuming office. He said real issues such as traffic congestion and public security need to be addressed. Quote, "Come and speak with people. We want to see you once in a while once you're in office. Come and talk to us, see us, establish a reasonable, reliable link with the community, with your voters, and resolve their matters." Ward 15 is bordered by Yonge Street to the west, Leslie Street to the east, and Highway 401 to the north. Its southern border runs roughly along the Don River, just above the Evergreen Brickworks. There you go. So, some democracy being done in Toronto. Good luck to the new councillor. Hopefully, they will be doing good work here. And according to Kit Dan, Druv, who was one of the candidates who dropped out, is the vice president for the Liberal riding, and Evan, I believe, is the second person that dropped out, is the nephew of Deb Matthews. They both quit on the day that Wynne endorsed Rachel. There you go. A little behind the scenes stuff there. Aha. All right. Bitchin' Boutique. How are you, darling? Good morning to my favorite Canadians, says Bitchin' Boutique. So, darling, if you're not doing anything this evening, we would certainly love to have some of your time. That's for those who don't know, that's our friend Amelia from the United States. I believe from Austin, if I am not mistaken.
That is correct, Austin, Texas.
Good old Texas. So hopefully would like to join us to hopefully say goodbye to Mr. Cruz.
Well, I have a graphic for you I need to show you here that I think it's an AI produced graphic, but it's a juicy one.
Okay.
Juicy, get the juice.
Yeah, I like that.
So for those listening, it is a picture of a woman's foot in what looks like a 5-inch stiletto heel, decorated like the American flag, stomping on an orange.
And it is a very, very, very juicy orange.
Yes. Well, it is what it is.
All right. In other news, kids and cubs, and I might still be catching up on a few things that happened over the past week over here.
Well, did you know that a number of mayors, I think 12 mayors across the province of Ontario, signed a decree or document which would invoke the notwithstanding clause to basically kick people in encampments to the curb? What they're basically saying is, we don't care about you. You are subhumans to us, and we will throw you out accordingly, and we're going to use whatever power we can muster to do so. And this is disturbing on a huge level when you consider we just had the Canadian Alliance to End Homelessness Conference for 2024. It just took place here in Canada's capital at the former Shaw Centre, current Rogers Centre in downtown Ottawa, and I attended 2 of the 3 days. And you now have mayors that literally want to sign on and invoke the notwithstanding clause to, I don't even know what their plan is to do with these folks. They want to destroy the encampments, which is a bad thing because now you're just scattering people so you don't have to see them. I don't want to look at that. Well, then put some tax dollars towards helping them, you stupid chowderheads.
Yeah. So yes, this is 12 mayors in
across
Ontario who wrote the Premier the following. Mr. Premier, as elected mayors from across the province of Ontario, we have heard your invitation for a clear request for provincial action to help municipalities with issues related to mental health, addiction, and homeless encampments. We request that your government consider the following measures and, where necessary, use the notwithstanding clause to ensure these measures are implemented in a timely and effective way. The provincial government is requested to become an intervener on any court case that restricts the ability of municipalities to regulate and prohibit encampments, advocating for the principle endorsed by the U.S. Supreme Court, City of Grant Pass, Oregon, that courts should not be dictating homelessness policy. The provincial government is requested to strengthen the existing system of mandatory community-based and residential mental health care and to expand service to treat those who have severe and debilitating addictions. The provincial government is requested to implement a drug and diversion court system throughout the entire province and ensure the necessary resources to allow a meaningful focus on rehabilitation as opposed to incarceration. The provincial government is requested to amend the Trespass to Property Act to include a separate provision for repetitive acts of trespass, the penalty for which should include a period of incarceration, and to further permit a police officer to arrest a person who commits repetitive acts of trespass after having been directed by the police officer not to engage in such activity. These amendments should also include an option for referral to a diversion court for charges of repetitive trespass. The provincial government is requested to enact legislation providing clear guidance regarding the open and public use of drugs being prohibited in the same manner as the open consumption of alcohol. We ask for your immediate attention to this matter and look forward to working with the Government of Ontario to realize positive changes to this very complex issues. Signed by Mayor Alex Nuttall of Barrie, Mayor Patrick Brown of Brampton, Mayor Ken Davis of Brantford, Mayor Jan Liggett of Cambridge, Mayor Darren Caniff, I think, of Chatham-Kent, Mayor Adrian Foster of Clarington, Mayor Rob Burton of Oakville, Mayor Dan Carter of Oshawa, Mayor Kevin Ash, that guy, of Pickering. Sorry, kids.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor Pat, I can't make out this person's name, of St. Catharines, Mayor Paul Lefebvre of Sudbury, and Mayor Drew Dilkins, him too, of Windsor. There are some good things in here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like a drug and diversion court system, that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. We've got 12 mayors who, rather than doing the hard work of trying to find a solution. And actually, I shouldn't even have to say that, to be totally honest, because we know
It's not
what
the
the
hard work.
solutions are.
It's the job. We know what they
have
are. Yeah.
the solutions. It's wanting to bite the bullet to take on the cost and to take on the public backlash of doing them because they're politically unpopular.
Mm. And that's what it is. They want to save their political skin. They don't care about doing the right, proper thing.
The harm reduction methods or wellness promotion methods, depending on how you want to frame them, that will be needed. But for example, in British Columbia, right, they just built themselves a safe inhalation place and had Rustad won. He was going to shut that down before it even really got used after spending all the money to actually build it.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I spent some time in a safe consumption site last night, consuming a regulated safe supply of Guinness in the pub. And if you think that's not a safe consumption site and not safe supply, then you haven't learned a thing. What is your drug of choice? My drug of choice is whiskey, beer, and wine. That's my drug of choice. Everybody has their drug. Whether it's a narcotic, whether it's alcohol, whether it's adrenaline junkie activities, everybody has their drug. The thing that takes them to another place that gets them outside of their head. Everyone has one. And I happen to use a safe consumption site with safe supply. And if you think it's not that, I really need to go over this again and again and again until you understand it. That is exactly what it is. You see, the thing is, alcohol is a socially acceptable drug. So much so that you can buy it damn near anywhere in the province of Ontario now, which, oddly enough, I don't have a big issue with. Maybe I should, but I don't. But when you turn around and shut down safe consumption sites for narcotics, then I've got a problem. Because one is socially acceptable, one isn't. Cannabis has become socially acceptable. In the province of Ontario, you can pretty much consume it anywhere. They don't really enforce it. I mean, city-owned parks, you're not supposed to consume it. People do. Are the police going to bother to, like, what are they going to do? Like, really charge you? No, it's a product you're allowed to consume. You just can't consume it here. You can consume it 30 feet over there. Nobody's going to give a shit about that because nobody does. So if you want to dismantle a system that has a proven track record of both saving lives, keeping people alive, getting people the help they need, and getting them back into society, such as Guy Felicella, who is a textbook example of how the system works. If you think that dismantling them is a good idea, well, I don't think we should have a conversation anymore. I think the conversation is over. If you cannot understand how a pub is a safe consumption site with safe supply, and a site where you go to use an illicit narcotic, which is deemed a class 6 drug or whatever the case may be, and is deemed illegal, you think, okay, well, why don't we just decriminalize all drugs like they did in Portugal? And when they did that, what happened? They started getting people help. Instead of concentrating and spending money on policing, they concentrated and spent the money on getting the people the help they needed. And people got clean and sober and back into the workforce. We know how to do this. The record, the documentation, the evidence, it's all there. All the data that backs it all up. We know how to do this. It's been proven time and time and time again. But you don't have anybody with the political might or will or intestinal fortitude to do the right thing. And again, as I've said in the past, and I'll say it again, it's because so many people in positions of power that pull the puppet strings of the political arm of this country need to have somebody beneath them. They need to feel better than somebody. And that's what it boils down to. They need to have somebody to punch down on. And those who cannot punch back or punch up are those people. And they will continue to do it for as long as they can until we have the Weston Wellness Clinics, where they will force people into them and cost us a fortune in the process because it's a private sector operation, not a public one. And if you think that's not going to happen, well, I've got some really, really great oceanfront property in northern Saskatchewan you can purchase from me. I'll give you a good price. Good price, I swear to you. I'll give you a really good price on it.
Ooh, I've been there. Some great plots.
Oh, I'm telling you, man. Well, I could
Damn.
sell you a piece of land on the desert, but that's provincially owned and I think federally regulated. You know, there's a desert in northern Saskatchewan, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Falling asleep to the sound of the waves.
Yes. Well, there are waves at the desert because there is a giant lake. Anyway.
After having munched on a couple of slices of Saskatoon berry pie. Oh, what a life. Anyway.
And then I'm gonna put on my genuine Saskatchewan sealskin boots. That's a super Dave Osborne reference if you didn't get it.
Oh, man. So, yeah.
Get a coffee. I'll be right back.
Yeah. So, yeah, the mayors are asking for this. And, like I'm saying, we know what works. We know what works. It's just that adopting, we saw it in British Columbia, right? They tried some things, then all of a sudden, with the conservative, not that it backfired, but there were unintended consequences and they had to readjust. But by that time, they did take too long. And that by that time, well, enough of the public had turned against it that even the government was sort of backing away a little bit from its own programs, but certainly was not championing them, right, as the thing to do. So, yeah, it would seem that these 12 mayors have essentially said, by putting this pen to paper, saying, we're too chicken or just unwilling to take the heat that will come with doing the thing that is the right thing and the thing that we know that does work. So rather than doing the thing that works, could we please just violate these people's rights 3 ways from Sunday? That's a preferred course of action as an elected official, than actually having to do the work, make the decision in the best interest of those who need the help and of society in general, and then face the accountability that is going to be unpopular. But that's why you chose to lead. The solution is unpopular. You lead anyway. If you're not prepared to implement the tough solution. Well, not even the tough solution. If you're not prepared to implement the solution, you know that works, but it's just unpopular. And it's not unpopular. I'm not talking unpopular, right? Because you're violating someone's rights or you're keeping people down. Unpopular because ick, or not in my backyard.
I'm a YIMBY. Yes, in my backyard.
I'm a definitely YIMBY. It's like, if that's who, don't lead. Don't seek leadership. You're in the wrong job. Sometimes you're gonna make a decision that somebody's going to turn around and go, oh, what about my property values? And you just have to look at them and say, well, you're going to have to just screw your property values today.
Well, if
today
your
is not about
concern,
you.
if your biggest concern is about how much money is in your bank account over the life of another living, breathing human being who is suffering, who is sick, who needs help, and your concern is my property values will drop, I have a big message for you. Fuck all the way off. I mean it. Fuck all the way off. And when you get to the end and you see the fence, climb over the fence and keep going on forever. Live the dream and fuck all the way off for all eternity. Because if you place the value of your home over a living, breathing, suffering human being, you've lost your humanity. You've lost your humanity.
That is normally I'm the one that has the trenchant positions, Mr. Grizzly.
Yeah, well,
I'm just saying. Okay. Let's see. We were talking a little bit about the Bloc Québécois and all that kind of stuff.
Can we concentrate on something else real quick before we do that, though? I have a thing about the province of Ontario that I think you'll find very fascinating. You know how the Ford government is creating maps to find booze? They won't create a map to find dogs. And here's something from Ontario Provincial Parliament yesterday.
Mr. Speaker, I thought I'd get an answer like that, so I have a report of my own. This is a map of the top 10 Conservative ridings with the most people that don't have a family doctor. When the members opposite hear their riding, I ask that they please stand up and take a bow. The member from Brampton West, who has 27,500 people in his riding without a family doctor. The member from Scarborough Rouge Park, who has 28,000. The member from Kenora Rainy River, 29,000 people without a family doctor. The member from Brampton East with 30,000. The member from Chatham-Kent, Leamington, and Nepean, 31,000 apiece. The member from Etobicoke North, also the Premier of Ontario, who has...
Stop the clock. Stop the clock. The member will take his seat. The member will take his seat. Start the clock. The member for Don Valley East has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, as I was saying, the member from Etobicoke North, also the Premier of Ontario, with 32,000 people without a family doctor.
Ooh.
The member from Elgin, Middlesex, London, 38,000. Member from Bay of Quinte, 39,000. And at number 1, we have the member from Etobicoke Centre, with 40,000 people in a riding without a family doctor. Mr. Speaker, why won't the Premier let his own members fight for their own constituents' most basic healthcare needs?
And that's Kinga Surma, by the way, Etobicoke Centre.
With the largest number, yeah. And you are correct, Dan. That's Dr. Shamji of the Liberal Party of Ontario, yes. Yeah, he called them out on the floor, and it was pretty good. I asked Ford Nationwide is prioritizing maps for booze over maps for family doctors. Knowing I wouldn't get a good answer, I prepared a map of my own. The top 10 Ontario PC Party ridings with the most people without a family doctor. They didn't like that. I mean, I thought that was pretty kick-ass, to be honest with you. I really did. Yes, okay, that's true. That's the form, and I have one of those too.
Yes.
And it has lots of construction site stickers all over it.
Yes. For those who are listening, the white hat that was being talked about, referred to earlier, tends to refer to the leader at a construction site.
Yeah, the foreman.
The foreman's color. There we go. Thank
Yeah,
you,
now
Kits and
I
Cuffs.
understand what you were saying earlier. Yeah, except I was helping somebody on a small project so the white hat wouldn't have served me any good because I was the one with the knowledge and expertise that had to show them how to do it. So yeah. Anyway,
There you go. All right, Kits and Cubs. 222. So the thing.
no PNC. Hang on, let's address this quickly from PNC Bio. I'm not saying NIMBYs are ghouls. I'm just saying if you value the property of your home over a human life, you're a ghoul. Does that clarify it? Look, a NIMBY can be a lot of things. Some people in this city specifically get upset when a tower goes up. They're like, I don't want that. It's going to block my view. Yeah, well, you live in a city, man. You live in a city. Progress. We need to house people. We can do it around a transit station. We can put more people into one single place. Get used to it. It's a city. It's how it works. Simple as that.
All right. So the Liberals in the bloc were maybe trying to get something to work, and it wasn't working. Now, the thing is that the bloc asked for two things. Right now, if François Blanchet is pretty much being like, I asked what I asked for. I did not stutter. And I want it all. And that's it. So,
pretty straightforward.
He's not going to get it.
No.
Unfortunately. But the comments that I was making yesterday, wondering, does Eve really want an election, or did he even really want these things, or what? Or was he just looking to put people in a really uncomfortable position? Because I'm pretty sure had he gotten both things, he would have turned around and says, "Oh my God, I can't believe the Father Bunker gave it to me." So because those were pretty big asks. But the other thing that he asked for, other than the moving the OAS, increasing the OAS for everyone who's 65 to 74 by 10% to match everyone over 75 who have received that at a cost of about $3 billion a year into one of the line items on the budget, which is pretty much one of the biggest already. And given our aging population, set to explode over the next number of years in an era where we're talking about lack of intergenerational fairness, when we're talking about young people trying to find a place to live. So, if you're trying to get the votes of younger Canadians under 35, hey, let's throw another $3 billion the way of the people who've gotten everything already. Probably not going to be a good sell. Just saying. Probably not going to make you popular with the kids. Just like, and again, it's the similar thing with Doug Ford's $200 to everyone. I'm sure there's a lot of people going, oh yes, I'm sure everybody down in that neighborhood that has all their mortgages cleared off already really needs that extra $200.
Yeah.
Right. But the other thing that they were looking for was a bill with regards to supply management that would essentially tie the hands of the federal government in that they couldn't put supply management on the table for any other trade negotiations. Now, this is particularly important because I think it is in 2026, NAFTA 2 comes up for negotiation again. Which is another reason we hope that Harris wins rather than Trump, because Trump keeps on trying to kneecap our economy every time we have trade negotiations. And even then, he still doesn't respect that, because despite the fact that we just negotiated this whole trade thing, because he wants to slap a 10% tariff on everything. It's like, dude, we have a trade deal that we just negotiated. Thank you. So, usually what happens in supply management is if the federal government's going to put something on the table, then they offer the producers compensation in the equivalent value of what it is that was traded away. But the Bloc Québécois wants to remove the ability of the federal government to trade away anything whatsoever. So the whole thing about trading
Yes,
away
yes.
with compensation would no longer be a thing. That's a lot of power to surrender to the um, to surrender away if you're the federal government. But it could be something that they're up to doing because there is a bill with regard to that is actually in the Senate right now that started before. But then again, because everything is stalled in the House, even if it came back from the Senate, there's nothing that anybody would be able to do with it. But it has been in the Senate for well over a year, and it's been being slowed down. Bloc Québécois leader Blanchette says that the prime minister could influence it um, if he wanted to, but Senate is independent from the House, right? There's a government person in the Senate specifically to make sure that legislation goes through, passes from one chamber to the other in an orderly manner. But that's about it. So Blanchet is not actually accurate on that anymore. I mean, the old Senate maybe, but not the way that it's operating now. There isn't anybody. And according to David Cochran of the CBC, on the federal government side, there was a letter that was written to the Senate to encourage it to move forward, and the Senate's response was pretty much mind your own damn business. We run our stuff here the way we run our stuff. Thank you very much. So, right, even if there was no way that it was going to get through because it's stalled in the Senate, the government can't do anything. And even if it was coming out of the Senate and it was ready to go, well, there was no new business happening in the House of Commons because of the conservative privilege motion. So there was no way that Blanchet was going to get what he wanted. And he didn't seem to be willing to look at reality and saying, well, I mean, I know Liberals, I gave you to October 29th to get this done, but it's clearly very obvious that you can't get it done because these knuckleheads over there are blocking Parliament, so it can't be done. Now, of course, the Bloc Québécois could have, if that happened, could have decided that they were going to suspend the Conservative motion to vote in favor with the government because the other parties haven't been doing that in order to allow room for other legislation to go through. So it seems that all the parties, all four of them, are quite fine right now with Parliament doing nothing.
Mm.
Well, maybe not the Liberals. The Liberals would probably like to get it doing something, but they need the help of either the Bloc or the New Democrats to override the Conservative motion. And the Conservatives keep on resetting the clock by amending their motion. So it seems nobody wants to pass any legislation of the other three parties, except the Liberals. And it seems that as much as the other three parties keep on saying they want an election, they don't actually have a House of Commons that's operating in such a way that they could actually present a opposition day confidence motion for people to vote on, because there's still that question of privilege that's not being dealt with. And it's Andrew Scheer's question of privilege, and he won't remove it. So they keep on saying they want it, but they're not taking the steps to get the things that they want. So probably don't really want it.
That's lip service is all it is.
So it doesn't look like an election is going to be coming anytime soon at the moment. Let's see what else is happening on the security clearance file. This is really interesting. The Prime Minister made a clever little pivot the other day because Pierre Poilievre keeps on saying he doesn't want it because he'll be gagged. And then, came back the other day and says, I made the right decision not to get it because blah, 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 whatever, bullshit. The Prime Minister pivoted slightly on security clearance, stating that he's advised national intelligence to find some way to get some information of some kind to Pierre, including names, if possible, so that he can take action to protect his party and the nation. Now, I don't know if there is any information that national intelligence could actually give them. And that's just the prime minister saying, like, can you please look again, like to give them something, anything, so that he could take some action. Because I'm guessing that the thinking here is this: if national security does report back that there were some things that they were able to give Pierre, and then we wait a couple of days or weeks, and we don't see that there's been any action of any kind for him to clean house in any way, shape, or form,
Then we know he's compromised.
that opens up a whole other barrel of pickles. So a little interesting move by the prime minister seems to keep on being this nudging and positioning and whatnot to try to put Pierre in a weird situation. But it's like, just freaking pass a law. Just freaking pass a law. Come on. This is not hard. With regards to that as well, the Public Safety Committee over the past few days had some of the top experts on foreign interference present in front of them to testify. And it seems that absolutely none of the Conservatives MPs present in that committee were particularly eager to ask any questions about the situation in India.
I wonder why.
The experts are there, under oath, on committee, cameras are rolling. Perfect opportunity to stunt for clicks and likes and donations, but they don't want to ask about the prime minister so recklessly accusing our good friend India of having participated in some way. Even there being some intimidation, coercion, and even some extrajudicial killings on us. They weren't curious about that at all. They didn't ask any question whatsoever about the prime minister wanting to blow up our relationship with the world's largest democracy.
Where, by the way, for those of you who are unaware, we have a lot of subscribers from India.
Yes.
Like a lot.
Yes. They weren't concerned in any way, shape, or form about our terrible, horrible, dictatorial, tyrannical prime minister just blowing up our trade relationship with an emerging economic power. They had nothing to ask. Curious.
Yeah.
Very curious. The thing. And let's see what else have they been working on here. Yes, so I did the green fund thing about not being able to give documents to the RCMP for third-party use because that would be unconstitutional. It would appear.
Well,
So
I don't know if you've noticed, but the Liberals are really beginning to hammer the hell out of Poilievre on his not getting his security clearance.
Yeah.
They really are.
Oh,
Elizabeth May has fired shots. Like, they're not being nice about this, nor should they be. They are really beginning to hammer the hell out of this. And this will be his ultimate downfall.
Oh, yeah. This has legs, as they say. More legs than a bucket of chicken.
And the people defending Poilievre saying he doesn't need it and here's why. I'm like, no, you should have it. You are the leader of the opposition. You should have it, period. And I do not like the fact that the prime minister automatically gets it. I know it's always been that way, but we need to change that because if you can't pass the muster, you shouldn't have it, period. You know, if you can't get, so let's say he becomes prime minister and he can't. They pass a law that says, no, you have to pass security clearance to get access to this. He doesn't get it. The deputy prime minister would have to be the one to do that. Guess who's making the big decisions? Not him. When it comes to our security around the world, not him. The deputy prime minister would. Whoever that may be. I have no idea who that would be in that party. Who's the second in command of that party?
Which
I
party?
don't even know. The Conservative Party.
It's there's a co-deputy, Melissa Landsman, I believe, and I think Eric Duncan is the other one. Oh no. Oh fuck, can't remember his name now, but I can see him. But yes, they have a can't remember, can't think of it at all.
It's
His name
Lansman,
just
I guess. She would be the
complete.
deputy. She would be
Yeah.
the deputy PM.
Yes. Well, yes. I don't know if because there is only one deputy PM, but right now in terms of the party itself, Tim Uppel
Tim
is the
Uppel.
other one. Yes. So he chose to have two deputy leaders.
Strange.
One man, one woman. Gender
One-
parity.
One brown man. Wow. One brown man and one gay Jewish woman.
Yep.
Trying
Try
to
to
check off all the boxes, right?
Yes. Hello, tokens.
I mean,
Just saying. All right. These people. You do have, yes, Mr. Grilsey, you are absolutely correct. We do indeed need to speak about Murray Sinclair.
I have words here from Wab Canoe. I'll read them to you now. Murray Sinclair was a great Canadian, a great Manitoban, a great Anishinaabe. Anishinaabe. Oh boy. Anishinaabe. His career stands as a legacy of public service and a deep commitment to truth, fairness, and a dignity for all people. He was the first Indigenous person to be named to the Manitoba Provincial Court and the Court of Queen's Bench of Manitoba. He was the first, but he will be remembered as one of the best. He was appointed co-commissioner of the Aboriginal Justice Inquiry, which laid bare systemic racism within the justice system, and is considered a foundational perspective on the system's relationship with Indigenous people. He led the pediatric cardiac surgery inquest, and his report spurred systemic change in the delivery of pediatric cardiac care in our province. The penultimate moment of his career was his work as chair of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada. He approached a process that could have been divisive and instead transformed it into calls to action for the future of our country, helping all Canadians to learn to walk together into a future of respect and understanding where we live up to the phrase residential school survivors taught us, every child matters. It will be a long time before our nation produces another person the caliber of Murray Sinclair. He showed us there is no reconciliation without truth. We should hold dear in our hearts his words that our nation is on the cusp of a great new era and that we must all dare to live greatly together. On behalf of the people of Manitoba, I extend my condolences to his family and to all Canadians for the loss of Mazinka Gizik. I hope I pronounced that correctly. A sacred fire will be open to the public on the north side of the Legislative Building grounds until Murray Sinclair's funeral later this week. And I will share some photos that he posted. Just give me a sec here. There we go. The late, great Murray Sinclair.
Yes. So he passed away yesterday. Universally respected. A lot of people thought of him as a potential governor general as well. This is a massive loss for the community. Just a massive, massive loss.
Huge.
And there's been testimonials galore to just what a fantastic person he is. The Sisters of St. Joseph in Canada. We are grateful to you, Murray Sinclair, for making our world a better place. We have Pam Palmater, we often see on TV. I'll be forever grateful for the Honorable Murray Sinclair's work, advocacy, and commitment to us. Listening to his voice, you knew he was connected to our ancestors and loved our people. We'll continue to learn from his work for generations to come. Yes, Ray, not a celebrity, but Ray Deaton said 2 of my favorite people died this week: Janie Godley and Murray Sinclair, R.I.P. If you don't know Janie Godley, she's a comic, I believe, from the
Scottish.
UK.
Yeah, Scottish comedian.
Yeah. Who, if you've ever seen the memes of someone standing either in a field or at a protest with a sign that says, and please pardon my language, but Trump
You
is
can
a
just
cunt.
say, see you next Tuesday. Trump is a see you next Tuesday.
Trump is a bunt cake.
Yes. That was Janie.
Yes. The see you next Tuesday, that was her. And now she can scream it from the heavens.
Well, she had checked into hospice care a few weeks back, and I read that, and I was really brokenhearted.
Yes.
She's like, I'm at the end of my life, and she accepted it, but still,
Yeah.
Sucks when we lose good people. It's inevitable. No one gets out alive.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. He what to put? I like, that I do like to go to indigenous sources when things like this happen. I would assume that APTN has something, but today I'd like to bring you to the Globe and Mail, but it's an opinion piece by Tanya Talaga.
Okay.
And for those who happen not to know Tanya Talaga, she is a Canadian journalist and author who is of Anishinaabe and Polish descent, who worked as a journalist at the Toronto Star for over 20 years, and now a regular columnist with the Globe and Mail.
I follow her.
The first time I met Murray Sinclair, I cried. I grasped his warm, large hand, and the tears unexpectedly flowed as I introduced myself and thanked him on behalf of my family for the work he had done for all First Nations people and for Canada. He had listened intently and sympathetically to thousands of Indian residential school survivors about what they endured. He led a commission that penned a damning and meticulous indictment of Canada's crimes against Indigenous children. He fought governments, departments, and scores of lawyers who tried to tell our survivors that they were wrong or not remembering things correctly. He was a valiant soldier of conscience who led Canada to discover it actually had one. Murray accepted my tears with grace and said with a soft smile that he often gets that reaction. But then he surprised me by telling me that he had read my first book, 7 Fallen Feathers, that he'd found it remarkable, and that it helped him immeasurably as he investigated the Thunder Bay Police Board in the wake of the inquest into the deaths of 7 First Nations students in the city between 2000 and 2011. Afterward, a friendship ensued. He told me to reach out any time, that he'd be thrilled to chat or to toss ideas around. And over the years, I repeatedly took him up on that offer, reaching out to him if I was stuck or if I found myself in a literal or figurative jam. He always replied, eager to find out what was going on in my mind. Our discussions helped shape the Massey lectures I delivered in 2018. Specifically, we spoke about the need for our youth to feel a sense of belonging, and about the violent separation of our people from the land and the ensuing intergenerational trauma from oppressive colonial policies had nearly severed our connection and maimed our spirits. He told me about the 4 questions each Anishinaabe youth needed to ask themselves while growing up. Where do I come from? Where am I going? Why am I here? Who am I? All children, regardless of their background or where they are from, need to know the answers to those questions. They need to know their families' traditions, cultures, and their place in communities and greater society. They need to know they belong. It took him a lifetime to realize those 4 simple questions were the most important ones of all, as he wrote in his memoir, Who We Are, published just 2 months ago, and they are a gift, one he gave me and every young Canadian. I wasn't the only one Mr. Sinclair had a special relationship with. Many First Nations leaders and lawyers called on the great man for help, and he always responded. He was our fearless warrior, a man who shone a light into humanity's darkness, who held the heaviness of our stories, even though they weighed on his body, mind, and spirit. But don't think of Mr. Sinclair as a sad soul. He was anything but. He had a sharp sense of humor. He loved to tell a joke, and his passion was writing poetry, a skill developed over a decades-long friendship with the late Stolo author Lee Maracle. One of Murray's favorite stories was The Ugly Duckling. Just last month, I sat with his son, Nigan Sinclair, in the giant lobby of the RBC Convention Center in Winnipeg for the launch of Who We Are. His father was too unwell to make it. We talked about the Hans Christian Andersen story, and he told me about how Murray wanted to devote much of the memoir to the story of the little bird who was teased and ridiculed when he is young, only to discover that he, in fact, is a swan.
Mm-hmm.
The story touched Mr. Sinclair deeply. He loved telling it to his grandchildren. Quote, I recall feeling uplifted when the swan proudly steps out into the world without shame or worry, he wrote in the book. I fantasized that I was that swan. You see, the story spoke to the shy boy who was raised by his grandparents, first on the St. Peter's Reserve and then later in Selkirk, Manitoba, where he was relentlessly teased for being Anishinaabe. It spoke to the young man who despaired when he broke his grandmother's heart by rejecting her wishes that he join the priesthood to instead go to law school, where he was taught that Indigenous people, including himself, did not matter. But he refused to believe this. Every fiber in his being told him that he belonged, that he had purpose. And as a lawyer, then the first Indigenous justice in Manitoba, then later as the chair of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and a senator, he would be the one teaching Canadians that what they knew about us was wrong. Murray was a gentle warrior, a leader who left this country the 94 calls to action, a roadmap with which Canada could work to heal its spirit after the genocidal crimes it had committed against Indigenous people. He frequently told me, education got us into this mess and it's going to get us out of it. He believed that education reform, making sure school curriculums reflected the truth about what happened in Canada, was the way forward. He knew that teachers are our allies, the ones who will make sure that the next generation of Canadians, be they lawyers, doctors, editors, or construction workers, would grow up knowing the truth, without the preconceived racist notions taught in earlier textbooks. I tried to reach Mr. Sinclair many times while I was writing my most recent book, The Knowing, but I couldn't get in touch. Mr. Sinclair was going through difficult times. He lost his beloved wife and partner Catherine in June, and his health was failing him. Finally, in May 2023, he cold called me when I was in the final stages of writing. We spoke for 3 hours. The call was like a giant hug for me, a boost to keep going, and he urged me to tell it like it is, to keep writing what the majority of Canadians need to hear, despite those who would deny and spew hate. Quote, as they become aware, there is something not quite right in what I've been taught in school, something not quite right. We need to give them the knowledge to know more, he told me. Our greatest gift to his legacy would be to ensure that Canada, its government, and its citizens fulfills all 94 of the calls to action that he gave us so that every child feels that they belong, that they have a purpose, and are proud of who they are. This is how we build a great country and repair the spirit of Canada. Murray Sinclair knew this, and now it is up to us to carry on where he left off. I'm a little misty.
Yeah, I know. I got it. Same way reading Wobb's statement. He shall not be easily replaced, if ever, to be honest with you. I don't think he can replace somebody of his caliber.
Oh my. You ever know how much people mean to you until...
Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for absolutely everything, and rest in power.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Well, I think we should probably wrap up. Well,
okay.
Yeah, I could take
over.
Okay,
no, if we're going to wrap up.
I think we should probably wrap up, though. We're getting to that point, and I think that's a note we should end on today. I don't think we should change the subject after that, honestly. I think it's a good note to end on for the day.
I actually really, really, really very vigorously and enthusiastically agree. All right, kids and cubs. That's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember that sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless, so please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We love it when you do. Remember, if you would like to make sure you don't miss an episode, you don't have to, thanks to the Ray Girl. If you scan that QR code, that will bring you right to our pod page. That's podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. And if you click subscribe when you get to the site, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you. No fuss, no muss. Boom, right there. Now, if you'd like to help us in other ways, then you need to make like Kit Lane and surf yourself on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, where we have some buttons waiting for you. We have like, we have share, we have subscribe. They're lovely buttons, and if you click them, we get ourselves some happy. So please make us happy and click on all our buttons. Thank you so much. And if you'd like to help us in yet another way, and that way would be financially, well then, we have a tip jar for you. If you scan that QR code by Mr. Grizzly's head, that will bring you to our coffee page, where you will find the tip jar. That's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all in one word. And if you happen to have a little bit of money that you would like to donate to us to help us cover the costs of producing and bringing this show to you, because you enjoy our product and you would like to encourage us to do more, then we would be most grateful to be the recipients of your kind and warm generosity. So please go there and make whatever donation that you can. Thank you for everything that you do to support us. Now, if you're not able to contribute financially, that is not a problem, because the gift of your attention and participation is the gift that is the most important and precious to us. And we love to hear from you. So please write to us, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, or on our Twitter feed @TrueEager, our Facebook page, True North Eager Beaver, or if you're listening on YouTube, right down below in our comment section. If you happen to be listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave us some reviews and some stars. That helps us with the algorithm. Always grateful for when you're able to do that. Because democracy is something that you do. I'm not sure if it's too late if you're an American living abroad, because I know that you can vote in Canada for that. But if there's still time, go do that today. If you are some of our American kits who are watching us today, please go and vote. Every single vote is going to matter this time around. So please do go vote. And if you need some help and assistance, please call people in your area. There are a whole bunch of volunteers that are just itching to give you a ride to the polls to help you out. I keep on hearing stories of it's like, well, I was mowing my lawn. Okay, yeah, we'll keep mowing your lawn for you. You just hop in that car and go do that vote, and this campaign worker here will finish mowing your lawn. So do call, because your votes are needed here. All right, for me, that's pretty much everything. In Canada, the democracy is something you do thing. Trust me, a lot of us are going to be so slowly rocking and moaning. As the results come in, that's going to take enough out of you today. Just rest up for that.
Don't hurt yourself.
Mr. Grizzly, do you have some words of wisdom, sir?
Yeah, get out and vote. Get out and vote. To our American friends, cousins, family members, people that we've encountered or worked with over the years. Today, sorry, I don't know what that was. Did you hear a noise?
No.
I'm getting notifications here. Good, you're not hearing them. You shouldn't hear them. That's good. If you can get out there, bring somebody with you. Get out and exercise your right. Get out there and vote, and don't take the country back. Move it forward. As Kamala Harris has said, we're not going back. Forward is the motion.
Back. We're not going back. We're not
Forward
going
is the
back.
motion.
Yes, indeed. I agree with that wholeheartedly. All right, kids and cubs, can be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Mr. Grizzly, please not roll the credits, cue the cock. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors: The Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community. And The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.
Many people have said over the years that I've been involved in the work of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Why can't you just get over it and move on? And my answer has always been, why can't you always remember this? Because this is about memorializing those people who have been victims of a great wrong. Why don't you tell the United States to get over 9/11? Why don't you tell this country to get over all of the veterans who died in the Second World War instead of honoring them once a year? Why don't you tell your families to stop thinking about all of your ancestors who died? Why don't you turn down and burn down all of those headstones that you put up for all of your friends and relatives over the years? It's because it's important for us to remember. We learn from it. And until people show that they have learned from this, we will never forget. And we should never forget, even once they have learned from it, because this is a part of who we are. It's not just a part of who we are as survivors and children of survivors and relatives of survivors, but as part of who we are as a nation. And this nation must never forget what it once did to its most vulnerable people.